All right. Hello. Hello, everybody. All right. Awesome. I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes to jump on here. I'm going to try, whoops, I'm going to try to get into the Facebook group so I can see the comments. I'm just noticing that some of you may not have gotten the Zoom link. So I'm streaming it live inside the Facebook group. I will have this thing recorded. And if you need us to send somehow make sure you guys get the link, we'll make sure you guys get a copy of it. So welcome. Yay, we're live. Monica, hello. I see you. Anyone else that's on here live, just pop in, say hello. I'm excited. So today we're going to talk about I've been doing sales for 20 plus years. Home care sales specifically, probably about 15 years. Sales management, I've coached literally at this point over 1,000 clients all over the world. And as part of a franchise system, we had like 400 people in our system. So I've had a lot of conversations, right? I've had a lot of conversations with home care owners and salespeople, and there's certain things that I've noticed, that I've caught, that I've seen, that I've witnessed, that I came to realize that these are the things that are holding you back from scaling the business. And really, more specifically, today we're going to be talking mostly, predominantly about like how do I get more referrals? How do I get more clients to, utilize our services? So if you're on here live, just say hello. I see a bunch of people in the Facebook group, so I'm trying to look on the phone at the same time. So, oh, there you guys are. Oops, I don't want it to be loud while I'm talking. So, if you guys somewhere in the Facebook group, if you're on live, just say hello. Let me know that you're there, and just comment in the chat box. I see Monica's on there. She's saying hello. Kara's on here. Hello. But if you guys can, just comment in the chat box. Let me know you're here. I'm going to try. What's up, Olga? I see you here. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to pay attention to the questions. So as I'm going through today's session, I'll have a little bit of clarity around like, okay, this is what you guys are stuck with, or this is what you're needing. But what I want to do today is I want to get to a place where you have some clarity. Like these are the more common mistakes, right? And these are the things there's lots of little pieces that really go into scaling a home care business. Not like just, okay, you do this one thing and that's it. But you guys have heard me say this before because it's true, right? In our business, really any business, right? In any business, what is the one thing that keeps the business flowing and or growing and or producing leading to profit, right? You could have this thing and not have profit, but what are the things that actually lead to profit? Now, I know we're not doing our business just for the profit, right? It's okay that that's a byproduct of what we get to experience. We're doing this because we want to serve people. But what is the one thing? Hello, Michelle. I see you on here. Olga, Monica. Hello. Right? What's the one thing? Comment in the chat box or comment in the Facebook group. What's the one thing that keeps the business alive? And if you don't have this one thing, the business will cease to exist. Come to the chat box. Let me know what that is for you guys. I'm on here paying attention live. What's the one thing? Because I want to hear. To me, it's obvious, but maybe not for some of you. What's the one thing that keeps the business running and flowing and thriving? Yes, thank you, Kara. Thank you. So, Kara, bright, brilliant. It's sale, it's revenue, it's clients. If we don't have clients, we don't have a business. If we don't have profit, the mission that we're on of trying to serve people, it ceases to exist, right? So if we don't have these things, it's impossible to pay the light bill, to use the scheduling software, to be able to pay our caregivers, right? It's just not there. So part of this session is really to help you identify the 9 more common mistakes that really keep you guys from scaling the business. Now, I know in our industry, it's not just sales, referrals. We also have to have the caregivers, right? This session is not about how to find caregivers. Although you'll probably be able to use some of the lessons in today that will help you with that side of the business. Today is really more about, okay, how do we get more referrals? How do we get more clients? How do we generate more revenue? How do we scale our business? Because it does start with that piece. Hello, Lori. Hello, Michelle. I see you guys on here live. Hello, Michelle Mullins, and there's Michelle Tucker, and then there's Olga. Kara's on here. And if you are calling it in live, just let me know where you're calling it from. Is it Kansas? Is it Colorado? Is it New Mexico? Is it Houston? So let's start with number one, okay? And I'll share number one, but I want to share a little kind of example of my world in the early phases of my business. Right? I used to call on this account, and Melissa was her name. She was at a rehab social worker at a rehab center. And the truth is, what's up, Henry? How are you, buddy? I used to go talk to Melissa, and she's one of the few social workers that used to let me in often, right? She was from up north. I was from up north. Here we are living in Tampa, and we just would have conversations. She would tell me about her boyfriend and why she moved down here and that she's got no family here, blah blah blah. So we'd have these conversations, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool. What's up, Mark from Chicago? Right? I'm like, all right, this is cool. She's actually giving me the time of day, right? How many times have you been somewhere, try to talk to a referral source, and it kind of feels like you're not really getting the time of day? So Melissa's letting me come in and talk, and I'm like, all right, this is exciting. And then I bring, Starbucks coffee and cookies and stuff like that. So I'm investing a lot of time there. And sometimes these conversations would last 20, 30 minutes. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, this is good. She's giving me time. And this went on for 6, 9 months. And, over that period of time, I maybe got like 1, 2 referrals from her. All right. So keep in mind, I'm spending a good amount of time here every week because I think this is leading to something. And I finally said, Melissa, I've been coming here for a long time and I'm grateful. I know you'd got me a couple, clients and referrals. One of them worked out, one of them didn't. I said, what do I have to do to earn your trust to get, to get more referrals from you? And she said, Greg, I've been sending you my business. I could tell you're a good guy. You're passionate about what you do. Like I've been sending you the referrals. She said, but in all honesty, like most of the people in here are Medicaid and you don't do Medicaid. And I was like, I think she's telling me the truth. And it turns out she was telling me the truth. And it threw me off because sometimes you go into a Medicaid nursing home or rehab and it's just not as nice as some of the other facilities. So I was like, okay, threw me off a little bit. But what's my point? My point is, and this really leads into mistake number one. Mistake number one is we don't have a good pre-qualifying process, or we're not pre-qualifying at all. Now, sometimes you might ask some questions, but the key to all of any type of selling, any type of anything, I've been sharing this a lot with my clients. The key is being able to ask the right questions, right? Because a lot of you watching this feel uncomfortable. Like sales, it's got this word, it's a term, scares a lot of people, conjures up all these thoughts about like used car salesman and I'm selfish and I'm asking for things that I need and blah, blah, blah. And all these thoughts that come up. And really, really at the core, it's sales is really designed to ultimately solve a problem. Okay? We're designed to help solve a problem, whether it's for the social worker or the case manager, or it's for their clients or their patients that they're discharging. What's up, Deborah? What's up, Mark? Hello, hello. Anyone that's on here live, just say hello, hello if you're on here live. But the truth of the matter is that we're here to solve problems. How can you solve a problem if you don't have clarity around what it is? That's number one. And number two, what's up, Jeffrey? Especially specific to this scenario with Melissa, I didn't ask enough questions to really identify, all right, where is there opportunity here, right? Should I be investing my time and energy here? So mistake number one really is about learning and getting really good at pre-qualifying and asking the right questions. Because what ends up happening for many of you is you want to tell them all about your business, right? Because in your mind, you're like, I got to tell them why we're awesome or why we're good or why they should send us business or blah, blah, blah. Some of you don't even ever get to that. You just make friends with them and hope that the business comes. But many of you, you go there and you're like, I got to tell them something, and you start spatting out a bunch of stuff, right? You're telling them how awesome your oranges are. You're like, these oranges are amazing. They're really cool, blah, blah, blah. But if you would have asked questions, you would have come to discover that they actually like apples. Like they really need more information about apples. But here you are talking about all these oranges, right? So that's number one. Get good at asking questions. The mistake is that you don't. You're not good at pre-qualifying the right way. All right. Mistake number two. Okay. If you guys were going to take a trip from, let's just say, New York to California, you're going to take this road trip. Woohoo, road trip, we're going, right? Taking this road trip from New York to California. And in that process, right, one of your friends is like, hey, man, you should probably take this route. Go here, go here, go here. And you start listening to your buddy, like, okay, that's cool. And then someone else is like, no, no, you should skirt around all the edges and go do that. So you start listening to that friend, like, okay, maybe I think I'm going to take that into account. And yet you start on this journey, right? And you start to realize, like, oh, like this path is not going very well. Oh, this path is not going very well. And you've spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, money, even taking this path, lots of gas money spent trying to go down this path. And the guy's like, well, I've gone to California before, right? Like I took a plane there once, but he's never driven to California. He just went there by plane. What's my point? Is that oftentimes, and then this even happens inside of the Facebook group, right? People, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got ideas, and there's no judgment. I'm not sitting here judging. Like we all have thoughts about things that we think it should be a certain way or it should look like this and whatnot. And oftentimes we'll get this advice from someone where we don't know their journey, we don't know their path, right? People ask questions, oh, so they own a home care agency, so they must be doing it right because they're giving me advice. And the truth is sometimes it's good advice, but oftentimes we take information, we absorb information, and I've been guilty of this myself, like from people who have not been to the destination, the same destination, same path, same journey that we're desiring to go. Like the person who got there by plane, that's cool, that's smart. This is maybe a shortcut, but I'm driving. This is my plan. I want to drive, right? So I'd rather be gathering information from the person who's done this journey, done this path multiple times. They know what it looks like. They know how to get there. They know the little shortcuts. So just be careful because what ends up happening is like you take this path, you take this advice, and you could end up down this totally wrong destination. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say there's only a one size fits all. But what happens is when you start to learn from people that have done it or done it faster, done it better, done it quicker, oftentimes it saves you a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. Because I'm telling you, I've seen it a million times. I've been doing this for a bit, and I see people are like, oh, well, they told me to go hang a bunch of flyers, and they got one client from there one time. And here you are investing all this time, energy, and printing paper and all this other stuff, right? Or someone told me I should go do pay-per-click and SEO. And trust me, I'm actually a fan of that stuff. But I really highly encourage people, use someone who actually knows what they're doing. Because you can invest, and I'm sure there's some of you on here, oh, I put money into pay-per-click and SEO and have got nothing out of it. So my point with all of this, don't make the mistake. Do your research, understand, like take advice from people that have been down the path that you know you want to go. Okay. All right. Mistake number 3. How many of you, comment in the chat box, how many of you have, hold on, let me just quick message of my team. Oh, I see what happened. Ah, I did it as a webinar. Okay. Whoops. I got a bunch of people that might be trying to get in. Okay. All right. So hold on. Let me just message my team. I see what happened. Can you pull the Zoom link that I created and send out to all who signed up? All right. Little technical issue. All right. Awesome. All right. Fixed. Should be fixed. So I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you have been out marketing, right? Or you talk to a referral source, and in the process of having this conversation with the referral source, you just get this sense, either through conversation or things that they said, that they think home care agencies are a dime a dozen. What do I mean by that? Like there's one on every corner, right? Hold on, I gotta message them again. Okay, hold on, pause. All right, I'm back. Yeah, we had a little tech glitch. So those of you that are on here now, my team had set it up a different way, and I went in there and I was like, "Oh, the link's missing in action." So you guys can stay here on the Facebook group. We're going to also send it out if you want to join on Zoom. You don't have to. So, how many of you have been to a referral source and you just get the sense that like, okay, like they just think that we're just like everybody else. We're like all these other companies. I've had people say, "Hey, you guys all pull from the same pool of caregivers, right?" So it's like, or one of the first things out of their mouth is like, "What's your price? What do you charge?" Like, so they think that we are just a commodity and that everybody's the same, and all that matters is price. Comment in the chat box. Has that ever happened to you guys? Where I see Deborah's on here. Mark, hello. Comment in the chat box. Has that happened to you ever where you've been out marketing and you got this sense and you got this feeling that they're literally just trying to put you in the bucket with everybody else? Right. Thank you, Kara. Kara, it happens all the time. So the mistake is just accepting that. And you're like, oh, well, what does that mean, Greg? Like, how do you like just accept that? Well, of course I have to accept it because we're just a home care agency and everyone else is a home care agency. Right? But you might say, oh, well, we got good customer service and we got this, but everyone kind of says that. Or we got great caregivers, but everyone kind of says that. So the mistake is failing to really truly create what I call standout positioning, right? Are you standing out in a way where when people look at your business and how you're positioned in the marketplace, they're like, wow, that's unique. That's different. So I go deeper on some of this stuff, guys. I have a book that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting for it to get from the printer to the place. I'm going to go deeper on this stuff. I just want to share a lot of this, some of this pieces right here. It's in one of the chapters of my book, but I really go deeper in all this stuff. So while you're on here now, we're going to send out a copy. I'm sending it out. I printed a bunch of them. I'm going to send it out for free. You guys just pay shipping and handling. So if you're one of those like, yeah, I want a copy, my team will get you the link for the waiting list. I only printed so many copies. I'm just sharing that now because some of you are going to be on for a little bit and some of you are going to jump off. I want you to get these lessons, but I go deeper on them in the book. Okay. What's up, Pat? Hello, hello, hello. So by not really strategically differentiating or separating yourself or having standout positioning, you fall into this bucket. And then you do ultimately become a commodity. What do I mean by that? A commodity is something like, and I use this example a lot. It's like, all right, I've got a pen, right? And I need to do this big event. I need 1,000 pens or 10,000 pens. And I go to Home Depot and I go to Staples, and Staples charges 30 cents a pen. Not Home Depot, Office Depot. Office Depot charges 25 cents a pen. Okay, I'm going to choose Office Depot because there's nothing really separated. It's a commodity. That's how people are treating our services. And if you really understand business, especially service-based businesses, there's a lot of differences. People aren't just buying a pen, right? There's differences in terms of how you train your caregivers. There's differences in terms of your processes. There's differences in terms of your systems, your programs, right? But from their perspective, we're just like everybody else. So the mistake is really not spending enough time to truly identify and be able to communicate how we're different. In the book, I talk about like 3 key ways to do that, right? The 3 most important things to make sure like we really are strategically different. Now, this will help you throughout the entire sales process, right? It'll help you when you understand how to do this the right way, right? Another thing that I see, and this is not, it's not a judgment, right? It's not a judgment. We're on number 4. It's not a judgment at all. But another thing that I actually see, because everyone that I talk to, or mostly everyone in this industry, you guys have big hearts, right? There's so many other things we could have done, but we chose to actually open a home care business where we get to serve and take care of people. There's so many other ways you can make money. So it's not that this is about the money, but here's what happens, right? When your business is only to a certain point, oftentimes it can feel like overwhelm. Why? Because the owner has to get sucked into participating in recruiting and maybe overseeing scheduling and doing this and doing that. And when you're below this level, right? I don't know the exact number, right? Usually it's like you get to 2 to 3 million and it starts to free up the owner more and more. But before that point, right, we get sucked in more into the day to day of the business. And honestly, for someone that's lived that and been there, it causes so much stress and so much overwhelm. And it's like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm like, I don't want to be there. I just want to breathe, but I don't get a chance to breathe. So we get stuck in this, I call it purgatory. I don't know. I just made that up. It feels like purgatory, right? I'm not at a place where I can afford to have a big enough team so I can breathe, right? I got money coming in, but maybe it's not enough. And we get stuck in this place of purgatory. Part of it is like, I just want to serve. And that's good to just want to serve. But I'm telling you, the mistake that I see again and again and again and again is owners, they're like, oh, but I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to make sure this is done. I got to make sure this is done. And I will, and I'm wearing all these hats and compliance and this and that. And all that stuff is amazing and important. It's like we need to have it, but we put all of our energy or most of our energy into this, into just putting out fires and solving problems, and not enough energy focused on growth. I see it all the time. Smart people, amazing people, big-hearted people, but still the same people are like, oh, but I want this. but they're focusing on this, right? They're focusing so much energy and attention on the fires and the this and that, everything but growth. And it's a huge mistake for the same reason that we talked about way at the beginning of this, which is a business has to have revenue, referrals, clients. And there's this saying, it's like if you're not growing, you're dying, and that is so true. Even people that have gotten to like 1.5, 2 million, and then they take their foot off the gas, and then inevitably what happens? It goes back down, right? So it's important that we still focus on growth, because if we don't, eventually there's going to be other competitors. There's going to be other people jumping into the market. There's going to be other people that build the relationships. There's going to be other people that do the things that you're no longer not doing enough of. And guess what happens? Referral sources start to go away. Loyalties start to go away. The business stagnates, sometimes dips, and people leapfrog you. It just happens, right? You can only sustain so much for so long, and then eventually, more, even though demand goes up for our industry, more people enter the marketplace. It just is what it is. All right. Now, the next one, and I don't know if you guys have experienced that. If any of you guys have experienced that, come in the chat box, because it's just, it happens. I've seen it. Companies that have been in business 25, 30 years, companies that have been in business 4 or 5 years, but it happens. Or even newbie companies, and they're like, but I got to do all these things. Yeah, you do have to do all these things. But if you're not growing, you're just going to get stuck in purgatory. Okay. All right. What's up, Julian? I see you're on here live. Hello, hello. All right. So, what's the next thing? I see this a lot. All right. And this one, it's sort of a catch-22. You're like, well, what does that mean, Greg? Well, it's a catch-22 because what I'm about to say, it's actually a good thing at some point in the business. But the problem is that it can be a bad thing because the owners don't have enough focus on it. It's like they're deferring responsibility. And I'm like, you're like, okay, Greg, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean deferring responsibility? Do you know how many times I've talked to people and because the word sales scares them, it just scares them. They're like, oh, that's such a scary word. I just don't like it. They defer responsibility. And what do I mean by that? They might try to hire a salesperson. Oh, I've got a caregiver who's got good personality, so I might just bring them on board and try to hire them. And then 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months go by, and they've barely produced anything. And yeah, you're paying them low wage relative to a real salesperson, but you're getting what you pay for. Now, I know there's exceptions to this, and I'm not saying there couldn't be a caregiver that actually is good at selling. I'm not saying that. I'm all the respect in the world for caregivers. I'm just saying I've seen it again and again and again where people just defer, right? Or, and I've done this too, so this is, again, no judgment, where you hire someone from the industry who allegedly has connections and they're personable, and you're like, okay, I'm going to hire this person. And same thing, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months later, and you're like, why is my revenue going down? I don't understand. I'm putting the attention on growth like Greg talks about, but the revenue is going down. And they're like, it doesn't make sense because you're sort of deferring responsibility. What do I mean by that? There's lots of pieces that go into making sure you hire a salesperson, you do it the right way, but you cannot completely defer the responsibility and hope that it pans out, right? And with that, having a sales system, having some sales management, like really effective sales management in place, and make sure you get the right person. Just because they've been in the industry does not mean that they are going to produce. In fact, I found many times the people that are looking are, even if they've been in the industry, they're looking for a reason. It's because they haven't been producing. Now, that's not always true. I know that, but I found that majority of the time that's true. In fact, the best salespeople that I've had actually didn't come from the industry. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, it should be just you hiring people that are outside the industry. I'm not saying that. All right. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you cannot defer the responsibility and rely solely on the salesperson and just hope that, all right, it's going to work out. It's going to work out because oftentimes it doesn't. Oftentimes it doesn't. All right. So the next piece here. Yeah, Kara said it often comes with bad habits because it does. A lot of times it does. But you got to get really clear on the system and the process and have a good system, have a proven model, have the right accountability. And eventually, yes, hire a salesperson, but you got to have those pieces in place. Right person, right system, right accountability. Don't just defer and hope that it works out. Could it? Yes. Yes, it could. But I'm telling you, I've been doing this long enough that it's such a long shot that you actually hire the person that's just got it all and they're going to make it all happen and make it rain. It just doesn't typically work that way. Of course it can, but it doesn't typically. But even with the best of the best, they still need that accountability piece, right? Because I was talking to someone yesterday. Look at like the best athletes. I learned this the other day, like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. Like they literally have a team of 5, 6, 7 people that they are accountable to. Their nutritionist, their agility coach, their, whatever. They have 5, 6, 7 people on their team that they want to be accountable to them. So even with that, you cannot just defer. And when I talk about accountability, it's not just, hey, I meet with them every week and I ask them what their schedule looks like and who they're focusing on. There's a lot of other pieces that go with that. All right. So the next piece is, all right. So when I first started in this business, right, and I'd done sales before, and some of the sales skills and qualities or things that I picked up along the way in my prior career help. I'm not gonna lie, they helped me a little bit. But I got into this business, and I remember I would go talk to social workers and case managers and whoever, and like hope that they actually talk to me, and then get the opportunity to shine. I'd be like, okay, they're finally gonna talk to me, and then what do? I'm just like diarrhea of the mouth, like blah blah blah. We got a nurse and we're on call 24/7. We got great caregivers and blah blah blah. We got a really cool, program and like give us a shot. And that can work sometimes, right? I'm telling you, like that can actually work sometimes. But what I've learned and what I've discovered and what I've seen in the time of being in this business again and again and again and again and again is that the truth of the matter is, and those of you guys that are jumping on here now, we'll get you a replay. I made a boo boo, so um, I just got on the wrong link. So we'll get it out to everybody, so you can have the whole replay of this. But it's like I see this often. It's like we want so badly to get someone to send us business, right? And we have this opportunity to get in front of them to talk to them about our business. And there's very little strategy to it. There's very little, like, we just throw a bunch of stuff out there. Here's our brochures, and here's this, and here's that, and here's that. And what we don't realize is that, like, these opportunities that we get to really make an impression on a referral source can literally be worth millions of dollars in revenue to our business. Like, no exaggeration. I mean, I can give you an example. I got two 24/7s that lasted for like 2.5, 3 years in my business. And it was, I don't have the exact numbers, but somewhere over $1 million in revenue just from two clients that were 24/7s for a long time. I had I got into referral source. It was a long-term care insurance company. I did 5 million in revenue, not just from them, but most of it was from them. So we have these opportunities to land these decent to good to, I'll even call them whale accounts, like these big opportunity accounts, these big opportunity referral sources. And could you like just somehow build a connection with them and they like you and they're like, okay, we'll give you a shot, and you do some good stuff for them and they give you business? That can happen, right? But remember, you got a whole bunch of other people that are trying to do the same thing, right? They're trying to do the same thing. What's up, baby? Mandy's not here. So we got all these other people trying to do the same thing. And the truth of the matter is, it's like sometimes all you get is one shot. You get one opportunity sometimes to really make an impression. Now, could you be likable? Sure. Could you have a good service? Yeah, but you have to really be effective at conveying that. And there's all these little pieces that go into really making an impression, building connection, separating yourself from the competition, addressing what we call the whiffums or the things that matter to them and their pain points. Like there's all these little pieces that go into it. And most people, when it comes to actually pitching and presenting their services, they just wing it. Now, there's no judgment here. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, you're bad. You're bad. You just do it that way," right? I'm not saying that. But the truth is that like if I said to you, "Hey, Marty, I'm going to give you a shot to present to a referral source that can probably generate $3-4 million in revenue for your business," right? What would Marty say? Would Marty be like, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to wing it. I'll go in there, maybe bring some flyers and brochures and, hope that it works and hope that it pans out"? I'd like to think that Marty's like, "No, I'm really like, I want to make sure I do this thing right." Right. And there's all these little pieces when you understand, like, there's little pieces that go into, there's like a psychology around how people operate and how people make decisions. And I learned a lot of this stuff from one of my mentors. Like when you learn these little pieces, not because we're wanting to be manipulative, but we want to make an impression, right? We want to actually have an impact and influence and do it. Hopefully, we're doing it from a place of pure like heart. Like we really want to serve people, right? You're in this industry for the right reasons. So I have this belief. I'm not saying you have to have the same belief, but I do. I've got this belief that like we have an ethical and a moral obligation in many ways to get our services into the hands of the people that need it. How many times have the social worker not referred out to home care when someone needed it? They just didn't have the time. They didn't want to think about it. They thought they couldn't afford it. They didn't have the like. We've had. I know from doing this for a long time. It's like all these situations that we come across, and if all we're doing is just sort of schlepping our way through it and hope that they like us enough to give us a shot. Maybe if I'm assertive enough, they'll give me a chance. It's fine. You can approach it that way. But I think a big mistake that I see again and again is home care owners or salespeople where we're not really taking the time to prep and understand how to do this in a way where we have impact and influence and that it leads to a result. Right? Hey Kelly. Hello, hello. I don't know if my Mandy, if you're still on here, hello. All right. So this kind of leads to the next piece or the next one. So we're on number 7, right? Number 7 is, yes, now I'm going to put a little precursor here. Some people inherently, right? Some of you guys on here, right? Some of you on here are inherently good at this, where you just have a knack and people are just magnetized to you, right? I'm not that person, right? I tend to be a little bit introverted. You might not think that because you're like, well, Greg, you get on camera and you do all these things. No, I'm a little bit introverted. Some people are just like out there. I remember Bob Duramo, one of my competitors. Every time we'd go to a networking event, right, I was always like, ah, man, Bob's here. Bob's here. Everyone loves Bob, right? Because Bob was just out there and just loud and funny, and he's a good guy. I'm not saying anything like I actually like Bob, but Bob attracted the attention. And I had to learn as an introvert, like, how do I build connection, an authentic connection quickly, right? Because you guys have all heard this before. People are going to do business. They're more likely to refer to those they know, like, and trust, right? Most of you have heard that. Yes? Comment in the chat box if you guys have ever heard that. Right? Most times people are going to do business with those they know, like, and trust. So how do we accelerate that know, like, trust factor? Because if we don't, it's one more hurdle that we have to jump over, right? It's one more hurdle that we have to do. Right? It's one more hurdle that we have to take in order to get someone to maybe even consider us to send us a referral. Because let's be honest, like, you can get business in a lot of different places, but I'm telling you, consistently, one of the top sources is referrals from referral sources, because it's like building what I call an aquifer, right? There's these third world countries where people literally have to go and walk to the water source with buckets and the big wooden beam, and carrying these two buckets, and they fill the water with the buckets, and they walk back into town, and that's their water for the day, or whatever, however long it lasts. And that's kind of how it is with other sources. It's like we got it, like, we do SEO pay per click, and we do it right, and maybe we get it right, and then we get a drip, or you get a lead from caring.com or one of these other places. And again, these are good things. Have multiple things that are working for you. But when it comes to direct referral sources, it's almost like I call it building an aquifer, right? Once I have a direct source, right? Let's say it's a referral source at a hospital, or a social worker, or a nurse from a Medicare home health agency, and the relationship's built and we do a good job. Well, guess what? They're constantly seeing people that need our services. So when the connection's built and you do a good job, well, then they give you one. And then 2 weeks later, they give you another one. And then 2 weeks later, they give you another one, right? And a month later or a week later, they give you another one. So mistake is not really learning or knowing how to build that connection and effectively and quickly. And more importantly, when you understand the psychology around how people operate, it's understanding that oftentimes, like, how can we do this in a way where we tap into the emotion? Because that's really where most people operate. Now, I'll be honest, like, even like the case managers and the social workers in my market, it was just different. I call it a little bit of a culture difference. Like, I was coming from the banking world, and I just didn't have those connections. So of all people, I felt like I had a disadvantage. Here I am, this 30-year-old kid, talking to all these people that just different lives, different lifestyles. I wasn't going out and doing social hours and stuff like that. So I had to be really, really good at, how do I build that authentic emotional connection? How do I do it quickly? Because that's where people are going to say, all right, I like this person. I'm more likely to give them a chance. I'm more likely to give them an opportunity. And there's systems and strategies and tactics for how to do that. And I see, like, home care owners, like, and salespeople, a lot of times they just either they don't know what they don't know, which is probably the case most of the time, or they just don't put the energy into doing it. And when you learn how to do that, you just accelerate that process. Imagine being with all these different competitors coming to them. You have to find a way to stand out authentically. And I'm telling you, I am not the, hey, I'm not the Bob Duramos of the world. There's not. All right. Another mistake that I see often, and I guess this one comes up because I have clients that are in the world of they're independent agencies, and then I have clients that are part of a franchise system, and I see I see the difference. What do I mean by that? Oftentimes, and again, I was part of a franchise. There's this thing I call groupthink, where we just, part of a group and everyone starts to think similar ways, right? They think in similar ways because, the people who are around us have the most impact and have the most influence. And we just get caught up in thinking how other people think versus individualizing like our thoughts and our thought patterns. And why do I bring this up? Because as part of like the system that I was in, it's like we were all taught the same things. Here's the way to do it. And what I learned personally from my world is that um, most of the big leaps that I've had in my life and in my business was when I've gone outside of the group thing, when I've gone outside of like, this is how everybody does it. Now, I'm a fan of seeing what other people do and learning from, other people, especially if they've been on the path and have done what I want to do. But don't get caught up in the, all right, this is how everyone does it. And I see this, I'll give you a perfect example of groupthink. All right. Now, I don't know if this is exactly groupthink, but I'm telling you, I see it all the time. All right. What do most people do when they want to write a recruiting ad for their caregivers? What do? We look, we jump to Career Builder, or we jump somewhere else, and we look and we see, okay, what are they doing? Oh, they got bullet points. Okay. Oh, they do it. Okay. And then we just try to copy or model what everyone else is doing. Oh, someone else is running ads in the senior living guide. I did this early on. Oh, and all my competitors, they're in the senior living guide. Let me go into the senior living guide. I can't tell you how much money I wasted doing that. And what you will find, especially with running recruiting ads, is the people who understand the psychology around how people operate and they have ways to stand out and be different. Those are the ones who get the better results. So do not get caught up in like, oh, here's how it's done. Here's everyone's doing it. Because that will stagnate you or you're not going to get the results that you want. Not always, but oftentimes you won't. All right, we're going to jump to the last one. And this piece is such an important piece of the puzzle. And I go deeper on this in my book. I've talked about it before publicly at my live events. I've talked about this because I'm just such a big advocate for understanding this. Because the truth of the matter is that you can really scale your business when you understand this concept, right? Now, the thing is that the first thing and the mistake that people make is they're not tracking. You're like, what do you mean tracking, Greg? So it's like when I look at sales, there's different things that we can track. We can track referrals, we can track conversions, we can track, or intake to liver visit conversions. We can track, liver visit to startup care conversions. We can track the lifetime value of a client. Like there's all these different things that we can track. And I'm not saying you have to track every single thing, but not tracking is where the mistakes happen. Like I'll give you a perfect example of this. I had a client had a good business. She was probably about million and a half, somewhere floating around there. Been doing this for a while. Smart girl. And she wasn't tracking, right? Oftentimes she was just running the business based on gut. Like this is what I think. This is what I'm seeing from my world. And we started digging in, and one of the first things I often do with people is, all right, let's look at the numbers, let's look at the data, let's just see where we're at. And well, we knew the main thing is like I she has a salesperson. She's like, I want more referrals. Okay, all right, we'll work on the more referrals part. That's good. That's one piece of the puzzle. So we did that, and we got our salesperson up and producing. And then I was, we were working a little bit deeper, and we started. I was like, give me some of your other data and your other information. I was like, how are you guys doing on the intake call conversions? How are you doing on living room visit conversions? And we started just looking at this information, and there's benchmarks out there. You got the Home Care Pulse study, which is amazing. It gives you a lot of information, as you can look at that and sort of see where you are relative to some industry averages. And there's other things to consider, right? Like, is it a Medicaid agency? Is it a private pay agency? But there's benchmarks, okay? And we started looking, and I noticed it's like, hey, you thought you were doing okay in here, but you're like 15% off of like even just the industry averages. And I know you can do better than the industry averages, but you're about 15% off here, and you're about like 10% off here. And she just didn't know that. Like, most of you are like, oh, I do good on living room visit closings. Many of you do, because the industry average is close to 80%. So wouldn't, in most scenarios, like in school, if you get 80% or better, you're like, that's pretty good, right? We're content. I got a B, right? But what happens if you got that to 90%? Like, on our living room visit to start of care conversions, we were operating closer to like 90, 95%. Honestly, I know many quarters we were at 100%. So it's like, we started looking at this in her business, and we just dug in a little bit to the process. I'm like, hey, let's look at this, let's look at this. And she switched some things around. She switched her process for how she did it. She switched who was doing it. She just put a little more energy and time into it. And over the next year, and I don't have the exact number. I know I can reach out to her and get it, but she gave me an approximate. She's like, we're on pace to do like 750 to $1 million in revenue growth, because we started tracking, we started paying attention, and we knew which areas to fix. And when you get clear on that, instead of focusing on 30,000 different things, we get clear on the things that we need to focus on. And what ends up happening is you start to make these incremental improvements and incremental changes, and you really can scale your business, right? Oftentimes there's people I talk to like, oh, I need this, like, we look for this magic bullet. Everything's so hard, everything's so difficult, there's so much competition, the world's changing, I need this, I need a new business line, I need to do this, blah, blah. And oftentimes it's like, nope, we just move a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, and your business really can scale. But you're looking for this big thing out there when it's right in front of your face. Right. And I learned that from one of my mentors. And part of it is, if we're not tracking, that's the mistake. We're not tracking. Then we're just guessing. It's like throwing darts blindfolded. Right. We're just hoping we throw something out there and that we actually hit it. So these are 9 of the biggest mistakes that I see. Like I said, I talk about this. It's one of the chapters in my book, but the whole book goes deeper on a lot of these topics, where I go into the framework. It's an unconventional framework, the strategies and the tactics, and how you guys can leverage that to grow and scale your home care business. So I'll have a link for you guys here in the next week or two. Right now, we're just, if you guys want to get on the waiting list, I've already got a bunch of people on there. I only printed so many copies. So if you want to be the first to possibly get a copy of it, I'm giving it away free. You guys just pay shipping and handling. Just put in the comments down below, yes, I want a copy. My team will make sure you get the link. But these are the things that will help you. For those of you that are like really serious about growing and scaling in this year or next year, whatever it is, it's like understanding these pieces will help you get closer to the next level and the next level inside your business. Now, I know some of you are like, oh, but I need caregivers. Blah. That's fixable, guys. It is. It's fixable. For most of you, there's definitely enough caregivers in your market for you, right? You just have to get better at, and there's tips and tools and strategy and tactics for that, but you gotta get better at attracting more of the market share of caregivers to you. Just like in this conversation, there's plenty of referrals out there, plenty, right? We can get more of our market share of referrals with knowing how to address these things that we just talked about. And there's a whole bunch more, right? You get the right strategy, the right tactics, and you have that operating in the right system and process, and the sky's the limit. Okay. And I'm telling you, even the caregiver thing, it's fixable. Same mentality. It's like these little incremental improvements here, 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 and here, and you can have a whole bunch more caregivers. You guys are looking for the magic bullet, and there's cool things that will help you greatly, but you've got to understand what are the incremental improvements they've got to make in the recruiting system, and you'll see a huge difference in your results. So that's all I've got. Hope this helps you guys. Comment below if you want the link for being on the waiting list for the book. And then if there's any other questions, I'll hang tight for 30 seconds a minute. I'll try to look in the Facebook group, see if anyone's. Robin says she wants a copy. Awesome, Robin. Yeah, I'll just have my team put the link below. Um, but if you guys have any questions about this, just message me, comment. I'll try to answer them. I'll stay on for a little bit. Um, and I hope this helps. I really do. I hope this helps. And I do this because it's like, I don't want you guys to struggle and to suffer with the same pains that I went through inside of my business. All right. So I see people on the Zoom call. I'm assuming you guys got on the list for the this event. So I'll just have my team send you a copy. So just pay attention to your email. We'll get you guys a link to the waiting list for the book. But yeah, I know how hard it can be and feel to not have the revenue growing, and it's stressful, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? It's part of why I do this. Is like so much stress. I mean, I know I didn't get into sharing my story, but really there's a point in my early phase of my business, I almost ran out of capital. And it's like these lessons and these strategies and these pieces is what helped catapult us. We grew $1 million in revenue year over year. And there's lots of other little pieces along the way that I implemented. I put it all in the book, but I did it intentionally. It's like, you guys need this, right? And even if you're like, I got this piece and I got this piece, there's going to be so many other pieces that you're missing. We always, as a business owner, we constantly want to be looking for like, how do I just level up just a little bit, just a little bit. And for me, the intention behind all of this is so you don't have to deal with the stressors of running a home care business, and you can get to that place where the business can ultimately run without you, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, but it's doable because I got there. And if I can do it, I know you can do it. All right, cool. We'll make sure Robin, Gary, and Debbie, all right, we'll make sure my team gets you the links. Okay. So they'll post it in here. And if you guys have any other questions, let us know. But hope this helps. Have an amazing rest of your day, week, weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.